I wasn't ready for it, not that night, not in that way. But when he asked me the question, my entire world shifted. You see, my name is Claire, I'm 32, a wife, a woman who thought she knew her boundaries. Yet, in one reckless moment, I found myself staring into the eyes of the one man I was never supposed to want. My father-in-law. And what happened between us, especially when he whispered about the second doorway. It still makes me shiver. Before I take you there, before I tell you how it all unfolded, promise me something. Hit the like button, subscribe, and stay with me until the very end. Because this is not just another story. It's the secret I never thought I'd share. For as long as I can remember, there's been a part of me that ached for something different. Something I never spoke about. Not even to my husband. A hunger, a secret craving, a curiosity about that second doorway. The one most women keep locked. I told myself it was just a thought, just a fantasy that should never leave my mind. But the more I tried to bury it, the stronger it grew. Like a quiet storm, waiting for the right moment to break open. And then, that moment came. It wasn't with a stranger. It wasn't even with someone I could walk away from and never see again. It was with him, my husband's father. We had always been polite with each other, nothing more. Just casual smiles, quick conversations over family dinners, light jokes in the living room. But one night, when my husband was away, we found ourselves alone. Talking, laughing, and with every drink, every glance, every pause between words, I felt something dangerous stirring. That secret longing I'd kept buried for years suddenly rose to the surface. And when his eyes locked on mine, I wondered if he could see it, if he could sense the ache I carried inside. I didn't know then that he would be the one to ask me the question I both feared and desired. That night began like nothing unusual. It was late, the house was quiet, and it was just the two of us. I remember the sound of the clock ticking in the background, the faint scent of his cologne hanging in the air, and the way he poured me a drink with such ease, like he had been waiting for this moment. At first, we talked about simple things. Family, work, the kind of harmless chatter that fills empty hours. But underneath it, I felt something different. The way his eyes lingered on me a second too long, the way his smile seemed softer, deeper, heavier. And with every glass, the conversation loosened. I laughed at his jokes. He teased me gently. And then there was a pause. One of those pauses where the air shifts, where you realize you've crossed an invisible line and can never go back. He looked at me then, not as a father-in-law, not as family, but as a man who saw straight through me. And I knew he could sense it, the ache, the hunger. The truth I had buried beneath years of pretending. When he touched my cheek, I didn't resist. When his lips brushed mine, I didn't stop him. It was wrong, it was reckless, but in that moment, it felt like the only thing I had ever wanted. The affair began that night, not with loud confessions, not with promises, but with a quiet surrender, a dangerous step toward the one experience I could never have with my husband. And deep down, I knew he was the one who could take me there. The moment our lips touched, I thought I would break. Every warning in my mind screamed at me to stop. But my body leaned closer, hungry, desperate, starved for what I'd been denied for so long. His kiss was steady, unhurried, not wild, not rushed. That was what made it unbearable, his restraint. He kissed me like a man who knew exactly how dangerous this was, yet had already decided not to turn back. His hands moved with the same control, not grabbing, not forcing, just exploring, testing, waiting for me to lean into him, to make the choice myself. And I did. I clung to him. I let myself melt into his touch, into the warmth of someone who wasn't afraid to go where my husband never would. And for the first time, I didn't feel ashamed of my craving. I felt seen. We pulled back, breathless. And in the silence that followed, his eyes searched mine. Not for permission to kiss me again, we were already past that. But for something deeper. His voice was quiet when it came, steady, almost cautious. Tell me, is there a part of you that's always wanted more? Something you could never ask him for? My heart slammed against my ribs. I froze. every secret I had buried rushing to the surface at once. He leaned closer, his lips brushing my ear this time, his voice low, dangerous, unforgettable. "Do you mean the second doorway?" The world stopped. My breath hitched, my body went still. Because he hadn't just guessed, he had named it. The very thing I had longed for, the very thing my husband would never give me. He had laid bare with a whisper, and I couldn't hide anymore. My pulse raced. Every nerve in me was on fire, torn between fear and desire. Part of me wanted to run. But another part, the louder part, wanted to say yes. That was the moment I realized. I was standing at the edge of something I could never undo. The affair was no longer just about stolen kisses. It was about to become the answer to my deepest, most dangerous craving. The kiss should have ended there. A brief mistake, a moment we could both pretend never happened. But it didn't. He pulled back only slightly, his eyes searching mine, calm but intent, like he was weighing the cost of what came next. And then, instead of stepping away, he stayed. Close enough that I could feel the heat of his breath against my skin. For a man so reserved, his silence said everything. He didn't rush me. He didn't demand. He simply let the weight of the moment press down on both of us until I was trembling with want. His hand slid down, resting at my waist, steady, grounding. And with that single touch, I felt my defenses fall apart. Years of craving, years of silence, years of hiding what I could never ask my husband for. It all came flooding out. I whispered his name, not to stop him, but to give myself permission. He kissed me again, slower this time, deeper, and when his hand moved lower, teasing, testing, I gasped, half in fear, half in longing. Because I knew where this was leading, I tried to speak, to explain the secret I had carried for so long, but the words caught in my throat. So instead, I confessed it without speaking, my body arching into his, my breath ragged, my eyes begging him to understand. And he did. He always did. His lips brushed my ear, and in a low whisper he asked the question I had never dared to hear aloud. "Is that what you want? The place you've never let him touch?" My whole body froze. The room spun, because with one sentence he had uncovered the truth I had hidden even from myself. I wanted to deny it. I wanted to shake my head and laugh it off. But I couldn't. The hunger in me was too strong. The secret had already slipped free, and in that moment I knew I was about to give myself to him in a way I never thought possible. The second doorway, the forbidden, the affair I could never take back. The moment he asked, I felt my breath vanish. Everything inside me tightened, fear, desire, shame, and craving tangled into one unbearable knot. I didn't answer right away. I couldn't. But my silence said more than words ever could. His eyes held mine, steady, unyielding, waiting for me to either step back or fall. And then, I fell. I leaned into him, trembling, lips pressing against his with a hunger I couldn't contain. That was my answer. That was my yes. He held me like a man who had wanted this as long as I had. Not rough, not careless, but deliberate, each move stripping away the last of my hesitation. Clothes became meaningless, tossed aside one by one until there was nothing left to hide behind. Only skin, only longing, only truth. And then, it happened. The moment I had feared, the moment I had dreamed. He took me where I had never been taken before. The second doorway. The place my husband had always refused me. The place I had secretly ached for, night after night, too ashamed to admit it aloud. The shock of it stole my breath. The intensity shook me. And yet, instead of fear, there was release. A deep, aching release that told me I had crossed into something I could never return from. I was his, not just in body, but in every hidden part of me I had kept locked away. And as I clung to him, trembling, undone, I realized the truth. I had given to my father-in-law the part of me my husband never would. And I didn't regret it. Not in that moment, not with the fire still burning through my veins. It was wrong. It was dangerous. It was everything I had ever wanted. When it was over, the silence was deafening. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. Every sound, the ticking clock, the faint hum of the fridge, seemed to echo like a reminder of what we had done. I pulled the blanket around me, trembling, Not from cold, but from the weight of it all. The weight of the secret, the weight of the betrayal. He looked at me, not with shame, not with regret, but with something deeper. Something that scared me more than the act itself. Because in his eyes, I saw the reflection of my own desire, and I knew this wasn't going to be the last time. I thought of my husband, his calm nature, his quiet ways, how he never would have given me what I craved, even if I had begged. And for the first time, I realized just how far I had gone to fill that emptiness. I should have felt disgust. I should have felt broken. But instead, I felt alive, awakened, marked in a way I could never erase. That night became my secret, a secret no one could ever know, a secret that still burns in me every time I sit across from him at family dinners, pretending nothing ever happened. And yet, sometimes I catch his eyes lingering, just a second too long, and I know he remembers too. The doorway we opened that night can never be closed. So I ask you, what would you have done in my place? Would you have resisted? Or would you have stepped through the second doorway and never looked back? If this story left you breathless, share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe, because the secrets I carry are far from over.